Well. Here we are again in Sugar Ray Nosty's record room, Triple R Studios, and next to me is the man himself, Sugar Ray Nosty.
How's that?
Down the end, we've got Mike Big Roy Whitney.
G'day, Dorsey. How are you?
Myself, good mate, Andrew Dorsey Dawson. And today, or tonight, we've got a very, very special guest, and I'll throw it over to you, Widow, to introduce this very special guest, mate. It's all yours.
Thank you, Dorsey. Well, we've had some pretty big guests on the podcast already. Very interesting guests. But they've all been from Australia, and they've all been, well, most of them been based around sport and stuff like that. But if I said to you the name, and anybody listening to this podcast right now, if I said the name Pablo Escobar,
You got it, new man?
you got some, man. That name, everybody would know that name. Everybody listening would know that name, and a large majority of people around the world would know that name. Our guest tonight, who didn't find this out till he was 24 years of age, and that story is just insane, is Pablo Escobar's oldest and first child, Roberto Sendoya Escobar. Welcome to the How's That podcast. Happy to have you here. And before you say anything, this is what I want to ask you. Yeah, big round of applause. When you say Pablo Escobar, you just can't imagine one of his siblings playing cricket, rugby, being an artist, a muso. Now, I want to talk about the cricket first, not about the story first. We'll get to the story. And you ended up in England. You were brought up by adoptive parents. We'll get to that too. You were brought up with a totally different name.
John Michael, was it? No. So, what was it? Ralph Gatt?
No, Phillip Witcomb.
Phillip Witcomb.
Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you.
And you do have an English accent.
No, Witcomb.
Yeah.
I do. Hola to all my new friends in Australia listening to this amazing podcast.
Good on you,
Thank
Roberto.
you.
Definitely
Thanks, buddy.
Witcomb and not Whitney, huh? Yeah. We might be related.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, because you got the Witten
Yeah.
there, eh?
Now, tell me about the
Yeah.
cricket. Did cricket must have started at school for you in England?
Yeah, right. Well, you imagine growing up at my first 8-9 years in Colombia, I went to school in Colombia, which is another story altogether. So what do you learn in Colombia? It's football and baseball. So, I mean, obviously I'm going to jump right into this. I got sent to boarding school. That's all the reasons why I was. But I got sent to boarding school in the UK. I mean, this is like the other side of the world. It's absolutely fucking freezing cold. I didn't know anybody. I hated the place. The whole thing was a horrible thing, really, to teach somebody. But anyway, it happened, and off I went. I got dumped in this school, and this building is a 12th century, a manor house in Oxfordshire.
Yeah.
And I'm like 9 years old, and I've got all these old people telling me what to do. Now, you've got to remember, if you're the son of a billionaire and your godfather runs the country, your real father's the biggest drug lord, and all this stuff, and I didn't know what money was or anything else, right? I'm surrounded in bodyguards in Colombia. Thought I was in Australia for a minute. Surrounded in bodyguards. And then I get sent to this bloody prison camp in England called boarding school, and I got these people telling me what to do. So I was a big rebel. I never did what I was told, and I was always in trouble.
Like your father?
Anyway, so they... Yeah, I had to chip off the old block, I'm afraid.
Good on you,
so,
mate.
I'm answering the question. I hope you've got all day, because I'm going to answer the question properly.
No, we're going to time you. We might have to time you out.
Yeah. The thing is, right, you get to this place, right, and they give you a time in the afternoon, which is called games. So about 3 o'clock in the winter time, as my first term at school, we get taught that there's this game with a funny shaped ball where you can go around hitting people all day long and not get into trouble for it. I thought this I really love. They call it a weird name. They call it rugby. So I don't know what that was. But I just thought, right, whoever's got that funny-shaped ball, I can run at them and smack them as hard as I can, get the ball off them, and then you have to go over to this other side and put the ball over a line. I thought, well, that can't be that difficult. It was great fun. I really enjoyed that. So the skill levels at prep school of rugby was just about getting the ball off some. So I enjoyed that. And then,
do you remember what position you played, Roberto?
Yeah, of course. When I was at prep school, I played hooker. And
I knew a few of them.
It was. Yeah, well, we've all seen a few of them.
I bet you have, Roberto.
Yeah, all right, yeah. That was later at art school, but we won't go into that.
That's after school, yeah.
I've got to get on to that one.
Well, we did have it. Well, I won't do anything. So anyway, it was quite extraordinary experience. It was very difficult for people to understand. I've been dumped on the moon, basically. And there are these new games. So we get to this thing, right, where we're being taught about this game where there's two teams. And the side that's in has to stay in, and the side that's out has to get the side that's in out. And then when the side that's been got out has to go out, then the side that's in has to get to stay in and get all this crap going on. I thought, what the fuck's going on? And then you get given this big lump of wood, right? And then someone throws the ball at you at 100 miles an hour, and hope to God you don't get put in hospital. I thought, well, this could be quite interesting. It's not baseball. I wonder what's going on here. So then what the big worrying problem is that you get to this white building, which they call a pavilion. And so I'm telling you a story like a foreign kid is learning this game. You don't know what it is, you see. You just get there. And all the ladies and gentlemen, the parents, and they're all having tea and sandwiches, the cucumber sandwiches. Yeah. And they're all very posh, and they've all got their nice outfits on. And the worrying thing is that we have to put on all these pads. Something, Christ, we're going to get killed. Right, you got all these it's like getting suited up in a suit of armour. It's amazing. So I thought, wow, this is quite good. Right, okay, so we get all this shit on, all these pads and stuff. And then Matron, who was a very nice lady who looked after us all, she was our surrogate mother. She came along and said, you've got to put this on, boy.
Was that the box,
said, well, what
Roberto?
am I going to do with that?
Was she trying to put the box in there? Yeah. That's what they like, eh?
Yeah. I said, so where do I put that? You have to put it in your trousers. So I thought, okay.
That's lovely.
So naturally I said, oh, no, miss, I'm going to need a much bigger one than that. Anyway,
yeah, that's good.
You got a bit of West Indian in you, Roberto.
Well, no, I don't like to brag.
Yeah,
hey, Colombian, all right, Colombian, yeah.
Good on you, mate. Good on you.
There's these other guys, right, with a book, and they're all really serious, and they're making, notes and everything. I thought, wow, this is quite good. So, it's my first experience of cricket, and it was obviously a cricket game. Obviously, I don't know what I'm doing. To me, it was just baseball. They give me this thing, right? This thing which you have to hit the ball with, right? So I go marching out like this, and the guy comes running at me 100 miles an hour. Off it goes into the trees. Fantastic! I loved it.
Oh wow!
And I was playing baseball. I wasn't playing cricket.
Yeah,
I was playing baseball. I had a good eye. You see, I could see the ball coming at me. I thought, this is good.
Because baseball
doing this, and so I'm
sorry, Roberto. Because baseball was pretty big in Colombia,
right.
isn't it? Baseball was a pretty big sport.
Massive. Massive. Yeah, big leagues and everything. It's like football in the UK. Baseball and football were the big games in Colombia, and it's like massive. So like if you play baseball, it's basically you've got a wooden thing, right? Someone throws a hard ball at you, and you got to fucking hit the button as hard as you can, and that's all you got to do, right? Right? Don't get all this complicated shit crap. Right?
Yeah.
Someone throws that thing at you, you hit it as hard as you can with a wooden mallet you've got in your hand, and bang, and run like hell.
They would have loved you.
Cricket, basically, cricket was the same. But, of course, there's a lot more to it, and all the cricket aficionados are, dreadful. Look at this foreign kid. Look at the way he's playing. Oh, he hasn't even selected Midland leg from the umpire.
Good on you.
I didn't even know what those three sticks were about behind me. But anyway, all I knew is that I had to hit this fucking ball as hard as you can and run to the other side and back again as many times before they get the ball back. I just thought, wow, this is quite good. And best thing about this is I had a good eye. I knew nothing about cricket. I was crap at cricket, but I had a good eye. I could hit this ball. So I made the team because I could hit the ball. So when we were not in bat, they had to give me something to do. So my teachers didn't really like me. I think they're probably a bit envious of my lifestyle in Colombia and all that, because I had bodyguards and all this stuff. So they used to make me sit right behind the stump with these big gloves on.
Was the bodyguards on the field with you? Oh, no.
No, on the ropes.
Okay. Just asking.
About the pavilion there.
Yeah, because it wouldn't surprise me if that was happening, you know?
Fielding at first slip.
That's
my
right.
bodyguard.
Yes.
So you became a wicket keeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I could hit a ball and I could catch anything.
Yeah.
You throw it at me, I could catch it. I could catch a disease. No problem.
Perfect.
So the guy says you got to stand behind the wicket, because he was probably a bit of a racist, and I could say that now he's dead. But the guy says you got to stand behind here, and there's going to be someone running at you, and they're gonna do this bowling thing, and if the batsman misses the ball, you've got to catch the ball, otherwise you're in big trouble. So I took to this like a duck to water, mate. I was just like the ball, and I just saw it coming, and I catch it. And it turns out that these were the fast bowlers, and I'm like right behind the wicket. I should have been 2 meters behind. So I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So like that was this guy's worst nightmare. I was actually quite good at catching a ball.
And how old were you, Roberta? How old were you when you were doing that, when you first started? About
9, 10 years old.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, 9, 10 years old.
Did you play any football as well in England? Like you said, you played rugby, but did you play any what we call soccer out here in Australia?
Yeah.
Well, I have to say at private English boarding school in those days, football was for the state school.
Yeah, that's right. The rugby. They played rugby at those schools. They all played the game of rugby. That's right.
Yeah. Well, you've got to remember that rugby is a game played by gentlemen, but invented by ruffians.
Yeah.
That one you best.
And football is a game invented by gentlemen and played by ruffians. And so it's the other way around. There's a lot of snobbery back then, and private schools tended to stick to cricket, lacrosse, and rugby.
Love it.
The state schools, the working classes that went to the state schools down the road, they all played football.
Rugby league.
And all the rest of it.
Rugby league up in the north of England. Yeah.
Oh, was it? Oh.
Yeah, but where I was, they played football and then smoked drugs. And
where did they get that from?
What we did was we I don't know, mate.
Okay.
It's a mystery to me.
Okay.
and Roberto, back to the cricket. Since those early days,
back to the cricket.
Have you?
So I learned how to win games, because as a wicket keeper, you control the whole game.
And you had the bodyguards too, so you're going to win everything.
I didn't know they were bodyguards. I didn't know they were just people lurking about over there in the pavilion that looked after me.
Oh, you didn't know that they were actual bodyguards at that point because you were too young.
Well, they were like, but these people that lurked around me were my friends. They were our uncles and things that you call uncles and that, but they were actually bodyguards, security men. Whenever the headmaster, he said to me, have you done your homework? I say, no. So I was a spoiled little kid, but I learned how to win games because I learned that cricket, that although there's this massive pitch and there's acres and acres of ground and all that stuff, I learned that cricket really is all about what's happening around the stumps where the batsman is, and all the sort of games that you can play with the batsmen when they come on. So I'd be new batsmen would come on, and I'd say, oh, is that your mum over there? She's got great tits, stuff like that. And I was only a little kid, but I learned how to be quite rude to batsmen as they come on. The other thing I did was we had a league game against it was a very important game, and this was quite a bit on now. I'd learned how to play the game properly. And I used to take on a little matchstick with a ball, with a little, about 1.5 meters of cotton thread with me. And I used to tuck it inside my glove here. And we had some pretty dopey umpires back then. The old boys, old teachers,
Still
couldn't
the same.
see properly or anything like that. So, yeah. So I used to stick the matchstick down the hole of the middle stump, and then pull down the cord to my glove. And if the ball came anywhere near the wicket, I just pull the cord, and the bails would come off. How was that?
I'm giving that out. That's out.
Yeah,
He's out.
Yeah.
Oh, good on you,
and
man.
the batsman's gone mad, and it's like, so I learned how to win games like that. It was quite cool. I did get dropped from the cricket team at prep school. The first thing, because the headmaster had given me a bollocking and a caning for talking after lights out. At prep school, you weren't allowed to talk once the lights had gone out in the dormitory. Of course, I didn't do as I was told, and I'd be mucking about all the time. And so I got caught, and I got sent down to headmaster's study and got caned for it. 6 of the best.
Yeah.
And went down to the toilet, right? And then and I got dropped from the cricket team for that. And because I'd gone downstairs and I picked up the biggest rock I could find and threw it straight through the 12th century stained glass window.
Fantastic.
I bet you that went down really well.
I was told that a letter, a very firm letter, would be sent to my parents in Colombia. And of course I said, well, I don't care. They could buy the school 50 times over, so who cares? Yeah.
Unreal.
So anyway, yeah. But this building was listed in the Doomsday Book, so that was like a big crime I committed there.
Since those days, have you been a follower of cricket? Have you watched like England play Test matches, or are you?
Well, in my book, I talk about when I used to. I'm still back in those days. My old grandmother, my adopted family. So my adopted family are all English, and my old grandmother was Violet Aird Mason, and her brother was Sir John Aird. And he built the first Aswan Dam. I'm getting to cricket. We're getting there.
Sure.
And Sir John Aird was a member of Lords and all the rest of it. Because if you were in society, you had to be in a member of Lords and all. It was part of the whole game. And her, the second Baron, might be the third Baronet, Aird, played for the Isingari.
Oh, yes.
And was a member of Lords. And the Isingari, I learnt, was the cricket version of the Barbars, basically.
Yeah, that's right.
The sort of the nomad club, and a very respectable team. And John Aird played for the Isingari, and I got a Duncan Fernley cricket bat, because Duncan Fernley were the handmade cricket bats from Worcester.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and on the way from my train, I used to get the train from Paddington Station up to school when I was older, and we used to go past Worcester, and the train would go past the Duncan Fernley cricket cricket factory where they were all handmade.
I've been there. It's magic.
Yeah. All right. Okay, mate. So I got this Duncan Fernley cricket bat, which, I got the Airds to sign and all the rest of it. And it was like brilliant, but I never used it properly. I used to just go. In fact, when I used to use it to knock the stumps in, which is like a criminal offense.
Yeah, that's a criminal offence. That's not a good thing to do, Roberto, with a cricket bat. That's right. Not at all.
Yeah, but I'm afraid criminal offences tend to be part of the family.
Champion.
Okay, next subject. Before we get to the start of your life, I wanted to talk about your artwork, because I looked at some of your artwork on your website.
I just finished one here, look.
It looks amazing, and a lot of the paintings that I looked at are paintings of Mallorca, which I presume that's where you're living at the moment.
Yeah. Because when you're an artist, if you're a view painter like me, you try and paint but you have to be where you're going to paint. At the end of the day, you've got to breathe and smell the thing that you're going to paint to get the real atmosphere and the feeling behind it. A lot of my paintings have kind of meanings behind them and all the rest of it, but they're not just pictures. But I love art. I mean, my real father, Pablo Escobar, if he hadn't been a drug dealer, I reckon he might have been involved in the arts because, the other members of my family all paint and draw for a living. So it's quite
just stealing the artwork from all the museums and that? No? Hey, Roberto, sorry, buddy. Hey, see that picture behind you? I've got one of those, and it's like, it's got all numbers, and you can just paint by the numbers. It's very similar to that one.
Roberto's going, there's always one, aren't you, Roberto? There's always one in the group.
Don't you pull that out.
Just hang on a minute. I got something here for you. Oh, there it is.
All right, Ray, let me get back to the art. Now, you did go to art school in London, and you did study under some really, really good art teachers.
Yeah.
Did you, from a kid, from a young age, want to paint and loved art and painting?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so 1 year when I was about, I'm going to guess, 4 or 5 years old, I was given a book of drawings by Leonardo da Vinci. And I opened it up, and there were all these anatomical drawings that he did. And I was like amazed. I loved it. And just art and my brain and drawing and painting, just they melded together. And weirdly, because of the horrific circumstances of my childhood, I used to have nightmares and sleepwalk a lot. And so I woke up one morning in Colombia, in my bedroom. I had drawn a portrait of Leonardo da Vinci on the wall in my bedroom in my sleep.
Wow!
I got into I got into big trouble for it, but my adopted parents recognized my abilities to be able to. It's almost on a hypnotic scale. You just do stuff and it happens in front of you. It's not like it's pretty weird. I mean, later on, my adopted father, who was an MI6 agent, did some work with a guy called Roy Peter Reynolds. They were doing stuff. And Roy Peter Reynolds was an amazing artist. And he was the great-great-grandson of Sir Joshua Reynolds, the founding president of the Royal Academy. And I worked in Royal Reynolds' studio in Herefordshire whilst he was in Herefordshire. And I was like a skivvy in his studio, which is where you learn, how to do stuff. Yeah. And he just said to me, sit down there and watch what I do. And one day you'll be able to do what I do and you'll be able to sell your work and make a living out of it. I didn't really believe him, but I did it and it was amazing. But the reason why I took up art is actually, unfortunately, not quite as honest as what I'd like you to think. Because my first day in the studio, Roy Reynolds, he said, sit down there and wait. And I sort of went, oh, okay, yeah. He said, now, you see that woman over there? I said, yeah. And there was a beautiful young woman sitting in the corner. He said to her, drop 'em, Blossom.
Oh, mate.
And now paint her.
Right. And I couldn't believe it. I'm 16 years old. I've got hormones running through my body like nothing crazy. And there's a woman in the corner that just took her clothes off in front of me.
How good. Oh,
I'm going to be an artist. That's it. Yeah. Because, you see, before that eureka moment, I was going to be a gynecologist because I thought if you're a gynecologist...
Oh, that is brilliant.
All right, back onto the artwork now.
That is good.
Back onto the artwork.
Oh, yeah. So I learned how to paint and draw in Roy's studio.
Well, through that training, was there a medium that he showed you? Like, did he show you oils straight away, and is that what you're painting now?
No, the first thing to me is you've got to learn how to draw. If you can't draw, forget it.
Right.
Even Picasso, when he's going like that and going like that, $2 million, even he could draw properly. We didn't have to draw sometimes, but you have to learn how to draw and observe and convert what you can see into movements in your arm and mechanical processes so that you can put onto the canvas or the paper what you're looking at. Once you've learned that discipline, then you can go and do whatever you want. And so he first said to me, sit down here. This is how you got to draw. Take a dot for a walk, and you go for a walk with this dot and draw. And he showed me how to draw this woman, and I was absolutely flabbergasted. I thought, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to do that. But he said, like anything, it's practice, 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 practice. When I went back to the Caribbean, because my adopted father had moved the offices from Colombia to the Caribbean, we went back to the Caribbean and there was an old German lady who said to me, Phillip, you've got to draw, draw, draw. And she thumped this into my head, but she had these numbers on her arm that were tattooed on her arm. And I said to her, what are they from? She said, when I was a little girl, I was in a camp called Auschwitz. And she told me the whole story. A lot of the German Jews escaped to the Caribbean. She was like 80 or something, or whatever. She was a very old lady. But I loved her, and she was a photographer and an artist. And she helped me as well. And then, I just thought this was amazing. So my adopted father recognized my abilities to be able to take this stuff on and draw. I mean, I couldn't read and write. I mean, I could read, but my spelling was shit. I mean, English is one of the worst languages to learn. I mean, can you imagine?
Terrible.
They just invent stuff like, neighbor. Where's neighbor?
It's true.
Where's neighbor?
It's true. It's a very difficult language.
Yeah.
So you're right, neighbor. Neibor, right? No, wrong. Some idiots decided to put a G and an H in there for no fucking reason at all. Just to confuse everybody.
Do you know which one I like? Roberto, sword with a W in it. Where does the W go in sword?
Yeah.
Where is it? Sword.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm going to cut your head off with my sword.
Yeah. No, don't. That was his dad.
Yeah.
Don't.
No, you see, in Spanish it's much easier. My father used to say plomo o plata, right? And you spell it P-L, right? It's not difficult. Plomo, P-L-O-M-O, which is Spanish for lead. Plata, P-L-A-T-A. Like, anybody can spell that. It's like easy,
I want to get back to the art. I want to get back to the art.
Can I just ask something quickly?
You.
Yes, Ray,
sorry, Roberto. I just want to ask about art because my daughter's very, very great artist.
No,
right?
that's good.
She
thank you.
crayons. Did you use crayons or just pencil? Did you do pencil
Yeah.
and then watercolors?
No. Yeah.
And have you heard of the artist?
He started with drawing.
Yeah.
He started with the drawing, then onto the watercolors, and then onto the oil painting.
Yeah.
So that was a process that took about 3 years.
But I want to ask you a serious question about painting. Is it difficult to paint with oils? Because I know you've got to let them dry and there's layer after layer after layer, isn't there?
Yeah, you're right. That's amazing. You know that. Look, this, for example, is like 3.5 months worth of work.
Beautiful.
And you have to build up the layers and build up the layers and build up the layers to get the depth.
Yeah.
Would I say it's more difficult? I wouldn't say it's more difficult. I'd say it's more laborious.
Right.
And a lot of people will paint one layer and go, oh, look at this. But when you see the difference between an old master painting, which is the style I paint, and a lot of the new stuff, there's not so much work gone into it. And people confuse this. This is hyperrealism. It's not photorealism. Photorealism was established in the 60s in America, which is started on the basis of using a photograph. This is hyperrealism, which hyperrealizes the actual view that you're painting. So you take a Constable view, you construct it like Constable did in the studio. It takes time. You can't paint outside. You paint in the studio. Yeah. So, it's interesting. My paintings sell, it's relative. My paintings sell for £20,000, that sort of price. And so, I was going to say, the artwork is my dream. In my ideal world, I'd like to be able to just paint and have people queue up outside and buy my paintings.
I wanted to ask you about where did the music come from? How did you get involved in music?
Right. So, okay, it's a very good question, but the answer is obviously quite involved. So I've always had a love for music because music is a natural thing for someone with an artistic mind to encompass with the drawing and the painting and music. They go together. But here's the thing. I always loved music, but I went through a period of alcoholism and depression. when I was living in Spain, I was doing golf course designing for Peter Allis, doing his drawings for him.
Uh-huh.
Peter Allis is a famous golfer, and he's died now. But Peter Allis and I and Tony Jackson, we worked on stuff together, and we knew on the Costa del Sol. And I was doing this concept drawing, so earning a living out of drawing. And my wife at the time, we had 3 kids, and we were living the life. It's great. And then she had suddenly became ill and had a brain tumor. And then in 1993, which is a couple of years later, I had to come back to England and nurse her until she died. And it took 3 years for her to die of a brain tumor. And I'm looking after my young children as well. And then my adopted father, the man I loved the most in the world, Patrick Witcomb, the MI6 spy, he got motor neuron disease, and he died that same year. And then in December the 2nd of that year, I was watching the news, and I learned that my father himself had been killed in Medellín. So it was almost literally overnight to me. It feels like it was overnight. I'd lost everybody in my whole world. And I just had my two children and the stepson who'd gone to live with his father. And I just started drinking. And I became a very serious drinker, and it went into serious bout of depression, and I ended up, I don't mind talking about it, I ended up on the ward, like one flew over the cuckoo's nest, queuing up for medication. The way I deal with it always laughing, because in every tragedy there's always some amusing moments. When Mr. Patel at the surgery said to me, "Mr. Witcomb, you must go for a scan."
You do yours. It's very good.
Very good. So I'm sitting there with all the pregnant mothers going for my ultrasound. I said to the lady next to me, I said, "I hope you don't mind, but I think mine's going to be a boy." So anyway, I went into the scan, and the guy said to me, "You see that thing there?" And he turned the camera around, the TV thing. And he said, "That thing there is your liver." I said, "Oh, yeah, whatever." And he said, "You see all them dots on there?" I said, "Yeah, what's that?" He said, "That's the beginning of cirrhosis." And I said, "What's that?" And I said, "What's that?" And he said to me, "I'll tell you what it is, pal. You've got 2 years to live." And I thought, fuck me. Right, okay.
Jeez, was that only, 20 months ago?
No, this is in 20 years ago. So the guy says to me, "You've got 2 years to live if you carry on like this," and I'm drinking 2 bottles of rum a day. So not good, very, very bad. So I went to the mental health people. I'm answering your question, by the way. I haven't forgot the question.
No, we're good.
The guy says to me, "You've got to learn how to draw and paint like you do, and make sure that's therapy. That's good therapy to get out of this depression." And he said, "If you can do something else, learn how to play an instrument." Yeah. And I thought, right, okay, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And so I went out and got myself a really shitty, cheap drum kit and just ruined the neighbour's day for them, and started smacking out music.
What's wrong with an electronic drum kit?
How to play properly.
What about the electronic drum kit?
It was that's later. That's when I got money. I mean, I couldn't afford that now. But I brought my snare is an Australian.
Oh wow!
Snare. It's a handmade Dixon.
Oh, Dixon. Dixon snare.
Oh, that's my Dicko's one.
Yeah.
Dixon snare. It's handmade. This is an Australian. This wood here comes from Australia.
There you go. Yeah. And are you playing in a band at the moment? Are you playing at all?
Well, the problem is, right, with people in a band is the lead guitarist tells me, "I won, 2, 3. Hey, fuck off. We're going to start when I say."
That's how it is, buddy. Sorry, just going back to the artwork, I just want to show you some of our artwork here. Do you like this? Do you like that artwork?
Wow, see, a masterpiece. That's a masterpiece. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah, thank you, mate. That's my daughter's. Yeah, that's going for about $5,000.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's worth double that.
Yeah.
Thank you, champion.
So how often do you bang the skins on your drums? Do you have a go every day?
Right, every day.
Yeah.
Every day, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Every day for about an hour. Now, you can't live in a built-up area. And so when I moved to Mallorca, I got this house in the middle of a park, a national park. So like I'm in the middle of nowhere. So now I've got a 300-watt speaker, and I plug the thing in there. I put a bit of Bruce Springsteen in on the phone, and I play with Brucey at Wembley.
We've spoken about artwork. We've spoken about school, playing rugby and playing cricket. We've spoken about music. Yeah. It's time to speak about the real McCoy. It all starts
Here we go, then.
Colombia when your father at 16 meets a girl who, according to what I've read and listened to, is 13. She falls pregnant. She has a child. There's then a raid on that particular house by, well, including your afterwards adopted father because of some money, and he was a criminal, Pablo, and they were chasing kids, and they'd stolen some money out of a
armoured van.
An armoured van.
Sure.
I thought he was crying then.
Yeah, and
Do you want me to take you through it?
Yeah, take us through it, mate.
Do you want me to take it through it?
Take us through it, mate.
Because that was a pretty poor attempt, but you did all right. You did okay. You did okay.
Love it. It's a complicated story.
So listen, right? I got to go through this as quickly as I can. 1959, London. It's the winter. It's cold. 6'4", and in those days, 6'4" was big.
Yeah.
Guy in a Savile Row suit walks down Regent Street. He goes into an office. He goes into an office, and in the office upstairs is a woman typing, and she says, "You can go in now." And he goes through the padded door cell, and he goes into this other office, and he meets a guy called Sir Arthur Norman. And Sir Arthur Norman is chairman of a company called Thomas de la Rue, which are still around today. And at this time, Sir Arthur Norman was also an MI6 handler, but this guy doesn't know that yet.
Yep.
And this guy is called Patrick Witcomb. He's just been recruited from the police. He moves to De La Rue, and he's getting this instructions. Now, Sir Arthur Norman fought in the Far East in the war, to help you guys out. He was out there in the Far East fighting with another guy who he met in the Special Forces called Ian Fleming.
Oh, wow.
And so that rings
Yeah,
a bell. They were
that does
buddies.
ring a bell big time.
Now, the office and the woman in the corner and all that shit has come from there. And Thomas de la Rue's offices in Regent Street were just like that. I used to sit on this woman's desk playing with my Macone sets whilst they divided the world up between them. But anyway, so he gets sent to this country, the other side of the world, to work with a guy called Manuel Noriega, who at the time was a CIA operative. And their idea was to get control of the monetary systems of that country to find out where all these dollars are going, because these dollars from America are just disappearing into nowhere. And so this is an operation they set up. So they start by setting up offices and a company and all the rest of it called Thomas de la Rue Transportador de Valores, S.A. And they get into this business of armored car business. And so they're printing the money for Colombia. They're transporting the money. And one day, one of the armored cars in 1965, an armored car, so the company starts operating in 1963, and one of these armored cars gets blown up over a railway line. The guys get killed. And his bandidos get away with the money. Bandidos, they get away with the money. And they hide the money in a little house in a place which I thought was hilarious because it's called Facapavita. And I used to go,
Fuck that, eh?
that's so rude. I can't say that. Oh, goodness me. So anyway, so there's this little village. It's a town now, but it was a little village in the middle of nowhere, in between Medellín and Bogotá. And so we got a situation now where it's like, who's running this country? The security services and the government, or the bandidos. So they got to teach these people a lesson. So they fly in with special forces, helicopters, gunships, the whole shit. I describe it in my book. And they kick the shit out of everybody. 2 guys escaped from this thing, right? And these 2 guys are Gaviras. That's their family name, Gaviras. That might ring a bell. I don't know. Does that ring a bell to you?
No, not Gavidos.
I'll give.
Was that like an avocado dip?
I'll give you that. Yeah, I can tell you're Australian. Yeah, Gaviras. Gavira. Right, listen. Pablo Emilio Escobar Gavira.
Ah,
That was
there
his
you
name.
go.
Wow.
So
If
two
that was his
Gaviras get
full
away.
name, hang on, if that was his full name,
Yeah.
why was he only known as Pablo Escobar to us?
Yeah. Good
Well,
question.
because A, people like to keep it simple, and B, you take your father's name.
Right.
So I'm right. So Roberto Sendoya is my mother's name, and Escobar is my father's name,
Right.
and so on and so on.
Uh-huh.
So basically, you don't reel that off for every 5 minutes.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he was one of the Gavira brothers. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So basically, these guys get away, and the MI6 agent gets into the house. After all the smoke's cleared, the special forces have recovered the money, and the helicopters are ticking over outside. There are dead bodies everywhere. It's just a carnage. And he walks into the back of the room, and he has to bend down. I mean, there's a picture of the house I can send you later after the interview. And he goes in with his bodyguards, and there's a woman on the floor in a red dress, and she's not moving very far, and she looks like she's in trouble. As he gets nearer, I'll tell you how I know this story, obviously, later. As he gets nearer the woman, he realizes it's not a red dress. It's a dress covered in blood, and the girl is a girl, not a woman, and she's dying. A bullet has ricocheted from somewhere, and it's got her in the back, and she's on the floor paralyzed and dying. And she's able to talk, and she says to the MI6 agent, "Look after my boy." And the boy is Roberto, and he looks in the corner, and there's a cot, and in the cot is a toddler, a little toddler, and that was me. So the root of all my nightmares and waking up at 4 a.m, loud noises and all that shit, which I still do today. I was up at 5 this morning. It all comes from that trauma that I experienced as a child. Anyway,
Do you get
positively.
flashbacks still from that incident when you're a little baby boy? Wow.
Yeah, I was up at 5 this morning, wondering why the hell I'd woken up so early.
Yeah.
It never goes away, and it's worth remembering that. So he decides, he holds her hand, and as she's dying, she points to a drawer, and he gets some paperwork out, and that's my birth certificate and all this stuff. And then he takes the boy to an orphanage in Bogota in the helicopters. They take the money, and then they go off, and they leave the woman there to die. She's dead. So that's it. And that was my mother's death. And she was like so young. It's very sad, so sad. But the worst thing about it all is that my real father is a young gangster. He's just a gangster. He's not a drug dealer. He's just a thief at this time. He's always had, since up to the day he died, he's always had a thing about underage girls, which is not good. Not good at all. So on top of all his drug dealing and murdering, he was also someone who enjoyed having sexual relationships with children, which is not good.
At the time, he was 16 and your mum was 14. Was that commonplace back then to have relationships? Commonplace now, probably.
Yeah. It's commonplace now, mate.
Yeah,
I mean, it's nothing's changed.
No.
Nothing's changed. And anyone who says that that's unusual, they're in denial, need to wake up.
Yeah, 100%.
They're in the schools today, in the first world countries that we have today, like Australia and Britain and America and these sort of places, the schools have to have crashes for the babies.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
They do.
Very true.
So it's nothing unusual, but it was illegal. So what the hell? I don't make the laws. I don't think. To me, it's a bit weird to think that my father used to have sex with little girls. I mean, I just find that abhorrent. I don't like it. I think it's wrong. I think it's rape. And in his wife, he married someone in the end. Another Maria, and she, in her book, she writes about how he raped her when she was 12.
Oh.
So, this guy is just not a good guy. Not a good guy at all.
So then you got put into an orphanage. How old were you then?
Yeah. Well, it was like the next day. I was taken off to an orphanage. I'm like a toddler.
Wow.
And it's really funny because I remember the orphanage. I remember Hessian carpets, really rough Hessian carpets. And I remember these sort of rickety old beds made of steel, like almost like the beds you see in the movies from the Vietnam War, where they're in mat, or the beds they had in MASH, in the program MASH.
Yes, I do. I remember them.
Yeah, and they had straw mattresses that went down like this in the middle.
Oh, God.
Yeah, you know what that was for.
Yeah. Yeah, covered in stains. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not good.
Beds.
Not good. So they decided. It's a long story which we don't need to go all into now, but they decided that I would be very useful as leverage. To use over this guy who they could manipulate into a situation. And the reason why he became so powerful, and I'll explain to you what a cartel is in a minute, but the reason why he became so powerful was because these grown-ups, if you like, made him like this because they gave him the routes through Panama where you could export tonnage. It's no good taking a few kilos on a plane. That's not enough. You need, if you want to conquer the world, you've got to be able to do it through lorry loads and lorry loads and lorry loads. And they gave him the routes through Panama because of Noriega's contacts. So the British and the American Secret Services gave this guy the routes that made him the biggest dealer, which attracted the others. So, and they formed this thing. It's not like a company. A cartel isn't a corporation or anything like that. A cartel is a loose affiliation of business people who set a price and they control the market. And so all the individuals in the cartel have their own businesses. They've all got their own businesses and their own territories and everything else. It's just that the biggest one is the one that basically can take the product from the others and sell it through the main market, which was then becoming the West, America. And that's how he became powerful. But he became powerful because he was able to sell most of his product. And the other people were still trying to get their product through Cartagena and other ports. And it was all very difficult.
And that was with the help of Noriega. That was with the help of Noriega, who was a CIA agent and MI6. At the height of Pablo's business dealings, what sort of dollars was he making?
Making, you mean profit or turnover? But in turnover, it was billions every year. I don't mean a few hundred million here and a few hundred million. It was literally billions. And the biggest problem he had, it was billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Now, if I come to your country now with Colombian pesos, no one's going to work for me if I give them pesos. They're going to say to me, "What the fuck's this?" I want Australian dollars.
Yeah, some of the people here will take anything.
You're right. Okay. Yeah. But anyway, the principle applies. Russian ruble in Australia is not going to get you very far.
Sure.
So you've got to come up with some way of taking those dollars and converting them into pesos so you can run your business properly. Now, you can pay some people in dollars, a few million here and there, but billions you can't. So this is an uneducated thug, right? He's not an academic. He's got to work out how to launder his money and convert it into pesos, which means then he can then control the country. And he, of course, has got, as a friend of his, Patrick Witcomb, he doesn't know it's MI6, but he's got this guy he knows who's managing director of a guy that prints the money for the Banco de Bogotá. I'll have to use him.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
So he was pretty clever, really. It was pretty clever businessman, really,
Well, it's not difficult to sell cocaine.
Well, I'm going to give it a go and see how I
go. It's like he's got a product everybody wants. It's not hard. So the difficulty wasn't selling the product. The difficulty was turning the cash into something he could use that was tangible. And he needed an operation that was much more sophisticated than anyone could ever imagine. And that was obviously, the setup that they had down there, which was the printing and transportation of money. And so this is how MI6 were able to facilitate the biggest of the drug dealers and make him who he was. And by doing this, they were able to control the country and they could then decide who would be president and everything. This is why President Pastrana used to call me. He used to call me mi amigo.
Yeah, amigo.
You know?
What's mi amigo?
Yeah, he used to come to. The president used to come to my house, sirens, and then I used to sit on his knee, and he used to say, "What do you want?" And I used to go, "Oh, I haven't got a horse," you know. And suddenly, ta-da, I just used to get whatever I wanted.
I can't believe
it was
this.
absolutely incredible.
I can't believe this. I can't
it was
believe
incredible.
Mate, is it true?
Well, you don't.
Sorry, Roberto, can I just interrupt you for a second? Is it true that he burnt $1 million to keep the family warm one day?
Oh,
or is that just a myth?
You know, when he was on the run, he did burn money because he didn't have anything else to I mean, you know, you've got to try and imagine that $20 notes don't mean anything to you if you've got 100 million of them. It's like, fuck it, what's this? You know, it doesn't mean anything.
You're right on.
But I'm going to reveal something on your show that not many people know about.
That's what we like.
This is. Are we going to the Christian? Yeah, the best Christian in Australia. No, we're not there yet. Not advert yet. These ones. Are we doing those next? Just a minute. Is that the next advert?
Yes.
Are these the sponsors?
Next break.
Okay, we'll do them next. So I'm going to reveal something now. It's a kind of reveal, especially for you guys, and that is, listen to this. The MI6 agent, Patrick Witcomb, with the authority from London, offered Pablo Escobar Gaviria and his family the opportunity to have asylum and live in the UK.
No. And what did Pablo say?
In return for giving them all the information as to where all the money was and everything else.
Well, that's tough.
And what, he said no? Pablo said no?
He didn't say no straight away. So what was happening was, he said, you're going to need some money. So Patrick Witcomb was bringing money out of Colombia and taking it to another place in Europe, which we'll tell you in a minute. And it was a lot of money. And this money was transported in an old DC-4 and it was taken to another country in Europe. And this money was hidden in a basement. And this money was going to be the money that he would live off. And I talked about this money in my book. And this is the Escobar Missing Millions.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
that is great.
The next question is, do you know where the basement is and what house it is and what's the number?
Because we're coming over to see you, buddy.
I bet you everybody says that to you, Roberto, do they?
So, in my book, my father, I'm living on the Costa del Sol, designing golf courses with Peter Alice. And like, we're having a great time, great life. I've got money coming in. It's great. Wife and kids. Fantastic life. And my adopted father rings me up from Madrid and says, I need to talk to you. It's 1989. I need to talk to you. I'm 24 years old. I fly up to Madrid. He says to me, you remember the guy in Medellín, this guy, blah, blah, blah. And we get into it. And he says, well, he was your father. It's just like the moment where Yoda says to Luke Skywalker, your father is. And I'm thinking,
that is what.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
My father's the most evil guy in the world. Oh shit!
Let me ask you a question up to that point.
But,
had you suspected?
Can I just finish my point? Can I just finish my point?
Yep.
Yeah. Just write that down. That question.
Yep.
So my point was, he said, we're going off to see a film. And we went down the road to see Full Metal Jacket.
Oh,
which was out in Madrid that year. And we had a real boys' night out, popcorn, the lot. Fucking great. And we're walking home, and this is the question you asked me earlier. We're walking home to his apartment, number 6, Calle Goya, in a very nice place. And we're walking home, and he turns around and he says, oh, by the way, that's where we keep the money.
Oh,
I'm going,
What?
What? You can't tell me that and so I hassled him, and the next morning he took me to see the money.
Oh.
And I describe it. And I describe this in my book in a chapter. And it's unbelievable. I've never seen so much money in my life. But he said to me, do you remember when you were in Medellín and we used the last time you saw your real father, Pablo Escobar, do you remember those black sacks they were bringing onto the aircraft? And you took a photograph of that. Do you remember that? And I said, yeah, of course. I said, hey, look at that. They're the black sacks. It's the same money.
And we're talking about big black sacks?
Money.
Are we talking about humongous ones? How big are they? Are they like my big sacks?
There's the picture I took.
Oh, wow. Have a look.
Okay. But there are hundreds of these. And they're full of $1,000 bills. So there's millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, which he later converts into bullion and hides somewhere. And that is where the massive secret is.
Wow.
Anyway, back to your question.
Wow.
I was just going to say, with your book, Roberto, what inspired you was obviously your story is quite amazing. But, so the story behind you publishing the book.
So back to the mental health unit. 3 things you have to do. You have to learn an instrument, draw or paint, because that's your thing. And the other thing you need to do to get all the problems out of your head is to scribble down all your problems on pieces of paper. So it's kind of a mental exercise to get things out of your head. Scribble that down, scribble that down, scribble that down. And I ended up with piles and piles and piles of scribbled bits of paper, along with this massive collection of the WhatsApp messages of the day, which were postcards from all around the world from my adopted family. So I've got dates, times, and places where I lived. I've got documents, birth certificates, and I've got all these memories written down over years of bits of paper. And I thought, right, okay. When I moved to Mallorca about 10 years ago, I decided, I said to my wife, I need to get this out of my head. I've got to get this out. I've got to write it down. So I sat down one day with my computer. Once upon a time, no, that's no good. It was a Thursday. No, that's no good. On a Monday, no. And then eventually, after a couple of years, I got to how I was going to start the book. And I started with, I had 2 fathers. And that kicked me off. And then of course, there's every day. Julie's my wife. Julie, how do you spell contemporaneous? Fucking English language. You know. So she helped me with all the spelling, and we eventually got to a stage where there was a story. There's about 80,000 words. And I was doing a news thing for BBC, and a publisher rang me, quite a famous publisher, and he offered me a pile of money and said, well, we love this book, but we need to get someone to do the research and get the dates right and get all this shit done. And so they employed someone to do all that shit. And then that then got, you know, when you're writing a book, I'm not Enid Blyton. I don't know how to write a book. I just tell in my story. So they turn it into something that's like tangible. That is like, because there are rules, aren't there, about when 2 people are talking. The other thing I couldn't do, which I hadn't done properly, which was there were moments where, you know, Pablo Escobar and my father were meeting and these things. Well, I didn't know what that was all about. So they put that in there.
When you found all of this stuff out, Roberto, at age 24. Let me, must have. But did you, during your teenage years and your early 20s, look at yourself in the mirror and think to yourself, well, I don't look much like me mum and dad? And is there something? Oh, yeah. Because you're South American, man. You're South American, you know?
Yeah, hombre. They told me you are adopted. Oh, and I'm like 9 years old. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means. Right. I just went, whatever, and carried on. So I thought that my parents, the other thing is my adopted parents were as old as my friend's grandparents.
Oh,
Something you wait a minute.
Yeah.
So this isn't right.
Yeah.
This isn't right. So, you know, it started to come out in my head. I was almost ashamed to admit it, but I was almost embarrassed because clearly my adopted father is 6'4", right? And I'm like 2 foot 3. You know what the fuck?
That's why they made you the wicket keeper, right, mate. It was never going to be a big fast bowler.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, I tried my hand at bowling, but it's like I just getting told to. I had this twat telling me that I couldn't step over this line. Why not? I want to get a bit closer.
That's right. No ball. Let's get back to when you.
No ball.
Let's get back to
you
when
tell
you.
me no ball against Sunshine, and you're going to get it smacked.
Let's get back to when your adopted father, told you all about it. You'd seen the money. He's converted the money into bullion. Of course, hid that somewhere else. No one knows where that is.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time. Last time I saw the money in cash was in Madrid in that moment. And then years later, my adopted father is dying of motor neuron disease. And he's in a hospital called in Walton-on-Thames in Surrey, which is where they bought a house. And he's dying of motor neuron disease. And, it's like really sad to see a proper real life James Bond guy. And he's now reduced to this dreadful mess. And I loved him dearly. He was just such a lovely man. I really loved him. And I miss him. And I've got a picture of him above my desk, just there. And I got to know him. He was very soft, really. He was an MI6 agent. He had a real soft side. Really lovely man. And he was dying, and he was a real mess. He could hardly. Do you remember seeing pictures of Stephen Hawkins just before he died?
Yes. Sad.
That's what he looked like. Yeah. So he's lying on the bed in Walton-on-Thames Cottage Hospital. I went to see him, and as I say, I always find some funny moments. I went to see him the day before he died, and he was in a room with two guys. Oh, there was another guy called Arthur, and two lovely little sexy nurses came in, and they drew the curtain, and you could hear them say, "Now, Arthur, we're just going to wash you, and everything's going to be all right. Just relax, right?" And then you heard,
Oh, he didn't, did he?
And he's died whilst they're watching his
Oh, no, someone else.
He got a semi.
I thought he got a happy ending. Oh, my God.
Yeah, these two, it was a happy ending. I mean, what a way to die with two nurses watching a bullet.
I'll take that. I'll take that any day.
That is a great, that is a scoop.
I mean,
that is a big scoop.
Yeah, so I said to Dad, "Oh, mate," I used to call my adopted father Dad. I said to him, "Oh, he died the best way possible." So there's always an amusing way. It's tragic, of course, but
yes, it is.
You should have seen the faces on these two student nurses who never had that before. They come out shocked. We killed someone.
So Roberto, now that you've...
I think they saw him. So he's lying on the bed, and he reaches over with his hand like this. And he points to his Dax jacket, and I get a diary out for him. And he gives me the diary, and as he opens the diary, because he's shaking so much, a piece of paper falls out on the bed. And I still have that piece of paper today. And it's a Home Office piece of paper with my Nationality Act and everything on it. And on the back are 5 lines of letters and numbers on it. And I said, "What the hell's that?" And he said, "Do you remember Madrid? Do you remember the money? That's where it is." And half an hour later, he died.
Oh, man. Mate.
So how do we work out what those 5 lines are in the code on that bit of paper? It's in your book, isn't it?
Well, first, the code is in the book, but I've done a lot of research since the book was published, and I worked out that actually this is Pigpen cipher code. This Pigpen cipher code that the Freemasons and the Templar Knights used to use,
Freemasons
communicating between each other. Yeah, so my adopted father was a member of a lodge, and so what can you do? Join the Masons and learn how to read the writing. So I did.
hey, Roberto, can I ask you something about the Masons? Do you know much about them?
Yeah.
Is it true, mate? Are they that powerful, really? Do you know anything about them?
Well, I don't know anything.
Don't you?
Okay. I joined.
Stop the recording.
I joined Lodge number 21. I joined Lodge number 2128.
Yeah.
United Northern Counties Lodge, which is out of Freemasons Hall, and became a Freemason myself. Do the Freemasons have power?
Yeah.
Not as an organization, but the individuals within Freemasonry.
Yeah.
Some of them obviously run countries.
Yeah, and they run sports and everything, don't they? Really,
I think they used to
Well,
be.
a lot
I think,
of-
Roberto, they
I
used to
think
be a lot more powerful than what they are now, weren't they? They're very, very
It's the
powerful.
other way around now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the most powerful group now are the Bilderberg group.
That's correct.
A lot of the
Yeah.
a lot of the Bilderberg group members are actually Masons, but it's mainly corporations now. It's all been taken
That's
over
right.
by large corporations.
The old Bilderberg
Wow.
group get to meet once a year, and there's always a little bit of press around the people there, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah, there's always that. Yeah, and you know you've got your Kerry Packers and these types. They're the big corporate types that control things nowadays. But there's another group of people emerging out of this trouble and strife that we have at the moment, which are even more powerful than that. And these people are people that literally own the countries they rule, and they're actually wealthier than you can even possibly imagine. And these people are now basically running the world. There's nothing we can do about it, so we just get on with our lives.
And Roberto, now that it's been 30 odd years since you found out that Pablo was your birth father, as time's gone on, and you've obviously researched a lot into about him and the family. What are your thoughts now, 30 years later, after you found out about his life and all of that?
Well, it's a mixed message really in my head. It's conflict. It's always been a conflict. It always will be a conflict. On the one side, I'm lucky to have been rescued and taken away on a set of circumstances which I was just fortunate. On the other side, I'm unfortunate to have had that situation in the first place. So, there's this mixed message in my head that will always be there, a conflict. A lot of people revere my real father, but they didn't know him. They just know him from Narcos. My book is the prequel to Narcos, which tells you a story about how it all began. I mean, in Narcos, the guy starts as a drug dealer on a bridge threatening some armed guards. He's like 20-something. It starts long before that. How does he become a drug dealer? And that's what my story is about in the early days. But yes, I've got to always have a conflict in my mind. Most people, including, other members of my Colombian family, only knew him when he was a drug dealer and a big, powerful guy. There's this other person long before that, a young boy that himself was manipulated by the British Secret Service and all the other powers that be to try and take control of Colombia. And that's what that was about. They do it now. They did it with Saddam Hussein. They did it with lots of people, and they're doing it in Ukraine. They're doing it everywhere. It's how you control a country is create trouble and strife, get hold of some idiot, make him into a kingmaker, and then get him to control the country for you. This is how these people work. And he was a victim as much as any of us were. But it went to his head. He got the disease called megalomania, which a lot of these people get. Stalin, Hitler, all these people, they go mad and they think they can run the world themselves. And then that's when they take you out. And this is what happened to Saddam Hussein. This is what happens to a lot of people when they get too big for their boots, and then the Secret Service take you out. That's what happens,
Roberto, we've got to wrap it up soon, but I've just got a couple of questions that I'd like to ask you. It's such an insane story. I mean, it's an unbelievable story. And you've written a book. If people in Australia want to buy your book, they can get onto your website and purchase it that way, or is it in bookstores here in Australia? There it is, Firstborn.
No, it's not in bookstores.
Hang on.
Yeah, it's not in bookstores. It's in Amazon.
Hold it up.
Okay, so they can get it off Amazon, and they can also purchase that off your website.
And we'll put links on our website and social media to Amazon to help you out there.
Yeah. Hang on. Hold it up again, please.
Because
I'll just take a photo.
And while you're doing that, the other question I wanted to ask you is having a look at your website. You've got some merch up there. You've got a few towels for sale and some coffee cups. How's the merch going?
Yeah,
it's very important.
Not very well, mate. It's just a game. I mean, I'd love to do a deal with a company that takes on all the merch for me. I mean, this stuff I do is just it's been playing at it, really. I mean, I haven't really been able to. What I haven't done is something I need to do now. Is I need to sell those rights to other people who know what they're doing, and that's probably the next stage. Get a merch company in to do it all, and let them go and make all the money from it, and obviously I get a royalty. But these things. The one thing I would like to say though, if I want to make this very clear in case people think I'm trying to be some kind of commercialized, what have you. I promise you this from the bottom of my heart, and you can ask the right people and they'll tell you. every single penny that comes from the profit of this book, printing costs, obviously, but every single penny from this goes to disadvantaged children. I do not make a single
Well
penny
done,
from
mate.
this book.
Well
Big round of
done.
applause for that. Big round of applause.
That's
There
true.
it is.
That's fantastic.
Fantastic,
really.
mate. Very,
And
very
you don't
generous.
really have to do that. You didn't have to do
No,
that.
you don't have to do that, but
That's
it's very, very
fantastic.
generous,
Yeah.
Roberto.
But I do have to do that because my adopted father was such a good man, and my real father was such a really bad man, and he was responsible for thousands and thousands and thousands of deaths. And because he franchised the operations around the world, this is why you get deaths in modern cities today, where young kids stab each other over a bit of territory.
Yeah.
It's the franchising of the business that created the havoc that you have in Australian cities and in Western cities all over the world. It's because of their franchise of the operation. So even death today, he's responsible for, and I feel such a terrible burden of that. I thought, well, it's pathetic, really. I can't. I haven't got enough money to be able to make things right. But at least I can say with a clean conscience that every single penny from that book goes to disadvantaged children. And when I sell a book personally to someone here, I keep the cash. I go to the supermarket once a month and I buy a load of milk and I take it to the food banks to feed the poor here. And I'm not trying to ingratiate myself. I don't want people to think.
Good on you, mate.
Honestly, I'm not trying to put a halo or anything. I'm just trying to say that it's important that people know that when you buy this book, you're going to love it or you think it's a load of crap. I don't mind. Just buy the book and enjoy it. Whatever it is, right? Buy the book and know in your head that you are donating some money to make a little bit of a difference somewhere in the world to children who have suffered terribly. And I didn't suffer that as much as they do. But, that's it.
I want to go back to the cricket as we get towards the end of this, and we talked about this before you came on air, Roberto, that we'd like to get you out to Australia, but we want to have a game of backyard cricket.
Oh, mate. Listen, what you need to do, and I'm being funny, what you need to do is you need to get one of these celebrity kind of events where we raise money for children and stuff. And you get a company to sponsor it, like your amazing tacos or whatever you've got over there.
Cornados.
Cornados. Hey, just a minute. We do the Cornados properly.
Okay. Roberto's going to put his hat on.
Hang on, hold that next to him.
Roberto, look.
Hang on, Roberto. You ready? Let's go.
Yeah, you buy Cornados oil, there's going to be trouble.
You are unreal.
Let's go.
I got one more question before you can wrap it up, Dorsey.
Yeah.
Roberto, what is life like in Mallorca? My children have been there when they were 19. I've got triplets. I've got a boy and two girls triplets, and I took them to England for about 3 weeks. And when Dad went home, they went to Mallorca for a couple of weeks. They're now 30, the triplets, and they're still talking about Mallorca, and they say it's just one of the most beautiful places.
Mallorca is a paradise island.
Oh, wow.
It used to be a smuggler's island. It still is, actually, but anyway, that's another story. Mallorca is a paradise island. It is where people from the northern hemispheres of Europe come and have their holiday. All the biggest yachts, all the biggest stuff, and all that stuff's here. And there's a lot of tourism, you fly in and out for 2 weeks stuff, right? But I've got away from that. I live in the national park. It's paradise. People say to me, I got offered a lot of money to go and live in LA to do a movie with some big people. And I turned them down. I said, listen, pal, it's not just about money. I live in paradise.
Yeah.
I actually can breathe the air here.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it's like,
Good for you.
Can I just ask you quickly?
I don't drink, and I don't smoke, and I live in paradise. I've got a good chance,
Yeah,
well, it's a bit of a shame because we're sponsored by a brewery and we thought we were going to send you some beer, but hey, what if you do that, Nemo?
No. What's the brewery called?
Ekim Brewery at the northern suburbs of Sydney. Ekim, E-K-I-M. I got the hat on. See, look. And they've got the best beer. They're fantastic blokes. So
the guy's name is Mike, and he spelled it backwards. Ekim.
So when you come out to Australia, we'll take you there anyway.
Yeah. And mate,
we're going to do hola, mate. You wanna drink the Ecom? Ecom is the best drink in the world. Ecom, drink Ecom is the best in the world.
Roberto,
Gracias.
Roberto, I've got to say this. With that hat on, you look like Cheech Marin out of Cheech and Chong.
Hey, man,
Oh,
it's
I thought I
Davey.
looked like Graham Gooch.
Graham Gooch.
Oh, fantastic.
Well,
Hey, mate, when I
Can we
mention...
Can we just talk about one last thing, which is probably one of the greatest sporting moments ever in the history of humankind?
Of course we can.
I was sitting in front of the TV watching a test match with my son. He was younger then, and we were told that there was this amazing guy who was about to come on and do some bowling, and there's poor old Gatting standing there. You know what I'm going to talk about, don't you?
Yeah, the king.
yeah.
Right?
The king.
Oh, man, have you ever seen a ball move like that? This guy comes on, Australia. None of us out in Europe know who this guy is. You guys know who he is. He comes on, and the ball goes across the pitch, hits right before the leg, and then goes right across the bat and goes straight into the stumps. And no one's ever seen anybody do a ball like that. And that's just the beginning of Shane Warne's test.
Well, that was the first ball.
His first ball in England in a test match, yep, called a ball of a century.
Yeah.
The ball of the
Golden duck.
century.
And we were watching. That is like Tony Jacklin's Gimme. There was a moment there, right, when I thought, hell's teeth, how can anybody do that? It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Even Botham couldn't move a ball like that.
No.
You know,
Gee, I'll tell you what.
My favorite bowler.
Yeah.
My favorite bowler of all time,
Mike Whitney.
Curtly Ambrose.
Oh, Curtly Ambrose. Oh, he was
Have you got any stories on Curtly?
I got a lot of stories about Curtly, but
How can you do that?
What
that
about-
guy
what-
used to do, I can't believe it.
What
I
about
know.
when you bounced him?
Mike who Mike? Did you say Mike somebody else?
I actually bounced Curtly one day, and I regretted that the moment that the ball went past his head.
Did you?
Yeah, because I knew he was going to square
Yeah.
up. He was definitely going to square up.
What did you
at some
say to
stage.
him after you bounced him?
Well, I was saying stuff to him, but he was that tall he couldn't hear what I was saying. Like he's about. I'm 6'1" and he was 6'8". He's a big man, Curtly, and a very, very good bowler.
I was told that the ball would come at you at over 100 miles an hour from 9 foot in the air.
Yeah, it was scary.
How the hell do you hit that? How do you hit that? Did you ever hit one back?
I batted number 11. I was primarily a bowler, and when I went in at the end of my career playing against the West Indies, I had that much protection on. I looked like a mattress walking out there. I mean, I had a batting average of 5, and it wasn't very comfortable, Roberto, let me tell you. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you and Mike Gattin.
Yeah, that's right.
Curtly Ambrose. Who was the guy we used to have? We had a fast bowler in England who didn't have a neck. He was a black guy.
Gladstone
And he
Small.
was really fast as well. Do you
Gladstone
remember?
Small.
Gladstone Small.
Fabulous bowler and a wonderful guy, Gladdy, as well. A wonderful guy.
What a fast guy. What a fast bowler. But were you watching when we saw the Ian Botham 200 at the test?
Yes.
Unbelievable. How does the guy do that? We used to call him the Beast. You remember?
Oh, mate, he was amazing, Beefy. 5,000 test runs, 375 wickets and 120 catches. I'm very jealous.
Yeah, did you ever play against the Beast?
Yes, I played
Did you
against
ever
him.
play against the Beast?
Yeah, my first 2 test matches were against Ian in 1981. That ended up Botham's Ashes, and I played at Old Trafford and at the Oval.
Unbelievable.
And it was unbelievable. He turned that series around single-handedly in 81. I know that's a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
he
fantastic.
he could do that in his day.
Oh, he's a freak. Yeah.
So, put together a celebrity 11, and I'll come along with me matchstick trick, and
I'll tell you the name. I'll tell you the name I've enjoyed you dropping tonight. Jacklin, the golfer, because he was one of England's best ever, Tony Jacklin, and you've been talking knew him really well, designing the golf courses and doing the artwork. He was a fabulous golfer.
Well, Tony Jackson worked on the Asahi Kanko golf course opposite the one we were working on with Peter Ellis, and I got to know his son very well. We're still good buddies.
Yeah.
But Tony Jackson is he's been left out. He should have been knighted years ago for services to the game. I mean, you know, what he's done with the Ryder Cup and stuff
fabulous.
is unbelievable.
Yep.
You know, he lives in Florida now, and he's such a nice guy, you know. And I got to know him when he was coming to the end of his career, you know, when he was doing he wasn't quite there anymore. But that talent, he was the first guy to win the two Opens at once and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, when he was a kid, he was an amazing player. But you know, he's kind of been I don't know, he's been forgotten, which is a shame because he was one of the greats. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, very, very sad. Roberto, we've got to wrap it up. So all of us here
on
How's That Podcast, just want to thank you for your time. We're going to push people towards your website. If they want to buy your book, you can get it on the website or Amazon. And if we can get you out here,
that'd be nice.
If we can get you out here to Australia, brother, we'll try and do that.
Well, I was going to say that
I'll come out. I'll come out and do an after dinner speech. I'll come out and do what have you, and we'll have a celebrity cricket match and have an absolute ball.
And what we'll do, because
I'm available.
Sponsors to pay for it with it.
I'm available.
What we do after a podcast, and we will do this after the Celebrity 11. We get some nice meat from Peter's Meats at Maroubra, and we have a barbecue after our podcast. So we'll do the same thing for the Celebrity 11. So. Yeah. We know what that means.
That means that's the end of our podcast. Let me just say, Roberto Sendoya Escobar, thank you very much for your time tonight, mate. Amigos, we love you, man.
Thank you so much, man. That was so wonderful.
Over and out. Cheers. Thank you. See you next time.
Okay, buddies.